Chris Morris, BBC News, Jabalia.
Well, Dore Gold is a senior foreign policy advisor to the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu. Mr. Gold, thank you for joining us here on Impact. Another bloody night in Gaza. Did you or did you not instruct these civilians to leave their homes and seek shelter elsewhere?
Well, systematically, Israel has pursued a policy of issuing multiple warnings to the civilian population when it becomes clear that the battlefield is moving in their direction. That involves dropping leaflets, the leaflets which have on them maps to show where to go.
But in this particular case, before this school was attacked, did you or did you not inform them that that particular UN shelter was about to be hit?
Well, first of all, as far as we're concerned, and I heard what the UN official said, this is being investigated. You know, just yesterday in the Shifa hospital in another part of the Gaza Strip, there was a huge explosion. Palestinian children died, and it turned out it was a Fajr 5 rocket of Hamas that blew up. So before you run and say Israel did this in a very difficult war zone, I wouldn't point the direction at Israel or at anybody. I would look into investigating this. The UN has said that they informed you 17 times about the coordinates for this particular school. So is the UN lying? Well, first of all, you know, I'm not saying the United Nations is lying. I'm saying that we don't know what exactly happened. You know, we have a very difficult problem here, which is television has to instantly judge, investigate, and determine who did something in a very difficult battle. You know, if Hamas didn't launch rockets at Israel, which is what started this whole war to begin with, if Hamas didn't dig tunnels to move its operatives, its terrorist cells, into Israeli towns and villages, we'd be in a different situation today.
Mr. Gold,
but unfortunately, we have to defend ourselves.
Mr. Gold, let's just have a listen to what Chris Gunners from the United Nations Relief and Works Agency had to say about this particular attack.
We gave the precise location of the Jabalia Elementary Girls' School and the fact that it was housing thousands of internally displaced people. This was communicated to the Israeli army 17 times, 17. This, of course, to ensure its protection. The last of those calls was at 10 minutes to 9 last night, just hours before this fatal shelling. There is absolutely no evidence that we can find so far of militants launching rockets from that school that was hit. Even if there had been some rockets in that school, was that a justification for a direct hit?
Mr. Gold, we're hearing there from the United Nations, and Bob Turner from the UN also said that from what they know, it was Israeli artillery and that there was no evidence that there was any Hamas rockets. 17 times they told you. So why was this school hit? 3,000 civilians.
Well, you're supporting a narrative. You're supporting a narrative that Israel was warned 17 times, and nonetheless, it deliberately fired at a school full of innocent civilians.
Why would the UN say this?
I don't accept that argument.
So is the UN lying?
I'm sorry. Well, fine. We have to wrestle this out. Did you know that in 3 other schools in the Gaza Strip belonging to UNRWA, an organization which does important welfare work for the Palestinians, in 3 other cases, the United Nations complained that Hamas rockets were found on its premises. So
but
the militarization...
School, and we're talking about this particular school.
No, but
Mr.
look,
Gold,
we're talking about...
Mr. Gold, with all due
respect, we are talking
Israel
about an incident...
Israel has the fourth most powerful military in the world. There's something wrong with your coordinates.
We are talking about an incident that just occurred, and our ability to judge an incident that just occurred is very much a function of what has been the deliberate pattern of Hamas in operating in this war. If you don't take that into account, then you're involved in a one-sided presentation fingering Israel when Israel is saying it doesn't fire at civilians. In fact, in many cases, it puts its own troops at risk to protect civilians.
Are you worried about Palestinian children being killed? Because hundreds have now died.
Come on. What, do you think we're monsters? The state of Israel is a country that takes care of of all its citizens, of people here. We've set up a field hospital at the Erez Junction for Palestinians right outside the Gaza Strip, as we did for Syrian refugees who've been butchered in the civil war by pro-Iranian troops. So please, do not ask questions of the people of Israel whether we care if innocent Palestinian children are killed. Of course we care, and the very question coming from the BBC is insulting to me, to my government, and to the people of Israel.
Mr. Gold, this strategy is not working. So what is the future?
What is the future?
What is the future? How can this go on? You know, every few years, this war breaks out and this occurs. Where will this end?
Well, what have your governments done to prevent Iranian rockets from being delivered to the Gaza Strip and fired at innocent Israeli civilians? What have you done? So before you can come to us and say that we have some kind of policy failure here, you have responsibility on your shoulders as a citizen in your own country to make sure deadly weapons aren't delivered in the Middle East and used against civilians.
Okay, Mr. Gold, thank you very much for joining us here on Impact. We'll have to leave it there. Let's go now to Ramallah, where I'm joined by Dr. Hanan Ashrawi. She's a member of the Palestinian Liberation Organization Executive Committee. Hanan Ashrawi, we've just been hearing from Dore Gold there. Their ongoing concern is their civilians and these tunnels and these